and today's guest is an absolute Wanderers legend. It brings me great joy to say that we're joined by David Lee. How's it going, David?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Great studio, looking forward to it.
Wanderers Way, the official podcast of Bolton Wanderers Football Club in association with iHeat. Coming up.
I remember going into the manager's office and I was desperate to sign. And he said, listen, David, he said, if I can get £1 off for every supporter to make the money, I'd sign you, but we literally can't afford it. And I said it's a big ask to get people off money. And I said, I'll just continue, kind of sign an extension on the loan. And then he said to me, we'll see what we can do. And then, again, like, as we said earlier in the conversation, things happen for a reason. We draw Liverpool in the FA Cup, which then was able to fund it. And obviously having the replay as well, it enabled them to fund it for me. And that's why I ended up signing. And if it hadn't been that game, I don't think I'd have signed.
I now know how you played so well in that game.
Bruce is watching and Kells is really struggling. And Bruce says, come on, Kells, get it done. He's saying, Gaffer, I'm going to have a heart attack. He said, well, if you're going to have a heart attack, have a heart attack at the top step. He said, why is that, Gaffer? He said, because it's closer to heaven. Kells was struggling to get up there. But he did it. No. I can honestly say, and no disrespect to the other clubs that I played for, when I left Bolton Wanderers, that was the end of my career. Because I'd put so much into being here and enjoying it and having the success and working hard. As soon as I walked out that door, or I didn't want to leave, I was forced out. I wasn't in Colin Todd's plans, which is football. And I remember him saying to me, I'm not offering you a new contract. And as I walked out of the door of the office, Gordon Hargreaves was there and he was in tears. He said, I'm sorry, Dave. He said, I want to keep you, but I've got to do what the manager tells me to do. And I gave him a hug. I said, I understand that, Gordon. And I remember him being in tears and he said to me, we're breaking up what we had at this football club.
Wanderers Way, the official podcast of Bolton Wanderers Football Club in association with iHeat.
Got your old pal on as well, Super John.
Yeah.
This should be interesting.
Looking forward to some
very
questions.
much forward to it, yes. No, it's good, really good.
Yeah, plenty of stories, I'd imagine. Let's go way back, David, when you were growing up as a young lad. Was the dream always to kick a ball around professionally?
Yeah, as a young lad, that's everybody's dream, isn't it? Never thought of working for a living, as they say, and getting out playing in the street with your mates and playing football. And probably 9 out of 10 boys you mess about with and play with in the streets all want to become professional footballers. But from that first day kicking a ball in the street, there's a hell of a long way to go before you actually can call yourself a pro.
Who was your heroes, sort of? What did you want to emulate growing up?
Kevin Keegan and Kenny Dalglish. I always wanted to play as a number 7. And I think because I was tiny as a child and I was always behind, like, my other mates were obviously a lot bigger and stronger and taller than me all the way through to maturing. And I always looked at Kevin Keegan and Kenny Dalglish and they were always, as in my eyes, small players but fantastic players. I thought, oh God, if it can be anything like them, I'll be pleased. So it's, they were my heroes. And Stevie Coppell at Man United, the winger.
He was a good player, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's class.
Was Dalglish your hero, John?
Dalglish was my hero as well, number 7. I tried to copy him right from the word go as well. Never succeeded, but tried to copy him, A bit similar to Digi, really, where you've got to have heroes, haven't you? You've got to look up to people.
Yeah.
Inspire you.
Yeah. Because as a youngster, everybody said to me, oh, you'll never be a professional footballer because you're not big enough. And I used to look at Keegan and Dalglish and Coppell and think, well, they're not so tall themselves, but they made a hell of a career out of it. So, so why not?
Yeah.
And you added to that as well, though, because you're genuine pace, though, didn't you? You're like a whippet man.
Yeah, well, I was naturally quick, wasn't I? Yeah. It's a good job I was.
The nickname Ditsy, as John said, where did that come from, David?
That came from when I was an apprentice at Bury. We had, at Bury Football Club, we had a director's room or a chairman's suite, and it had a full-size snooker table in it. And then before training, as apprentices, we were allowed in there till 9 o'clock. So I used to get the bus at probably 7 o'clock, or the train and the bus at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I was getting into Gig Lane at probably 8:15. If I got any later trains or buses, I would have been after 9 o'clock. So I was always in there, plenty of time. So me and a few of the apprentices used to play snooker before 9 o'clock. So I was playing against a lad called Alec Nair, who was an apprentice with me. And it was getting to like the black ball game, so we wanted to play on, but the pros were starting to come in into the chairman's suite. And it was nearly 9 o'clock, and Lee Dixon was in there, a lad called John Kerr was in there, and we was desperate to finish this game, and we had 1 or 2 shots on the black, and we weren't potting it, and quite a few of the pros had sat around the perimeter of the chairman's suite, and John Kerr and Lee Dixon said, "Come on, Didsy, we want to play snooker, get off, go and get your jobs done." And from that moment, all the pros started calling me Didsy. And it's just one of those things, even it's stuck. I'm 57 now and people still know me as Didsy.
Wow, that's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you known by anything else at all apart from that?
Oh, I've got a few but not to broadcast. I've been called worse, especially on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I can imagine. The Bury move then, did they just send scouts to go and have a look at you? Were you playing schoolboys football or something somewhere?
Yeah, I was, in fact, when I got to, I was on schoolboy forms with Blackburn Rovers, and all the way up to being at 16, I thought I was going to get an apprenticeship, as it was then not. I know they're known as scholarships now. And when I got to 16, they rejected me and let me go. So I had no intentions then of going on to another professional football club because I didn't have any contacts or any leads. And I'm completely out of football for quite a number of months. And I went down to Cornwall, St Ives in Cornwall with my mate at 16. We did our exams, got on the bus and went down to Cornwall. And my mate at the time, like called Simon Duckworth, his parents had friends down there who had a shop. So we ended up going down to live in Cornwall and working on Porthmeor Beach as beach bums, as they said, putting the deck chairs out, clearing the seaweed and things like that. And out of the blue, the shop, we were living in a flat above the shop, and the owner of the shop came up and said, "Oh, your mum's on the phone. Come down and speak to her or ring her back." So I went downstairs and he went, "Hey, before you ring, I want 10 pence in the box for the phone call," because there was no mobile phones. So I had to go back upstairs getting 10p, and I said, "There you go, Steve, there's your 10 pence. And I rang my mum and she said, "Oh, we've had a Martin Dobson on the phone, wants you to come back to Bury for a trial." I went, "Mum, I'm 250 miles away, how am I going to get back?" She said, "Well, I'll leave it with you. If you want to come back up, you need to be here on a certain day, blah, blah, blah. I'll leave it with you." So I went back upstairs to my mate, and Simon said, "What did your mum want?" I said, "Well, a chance to go back for a trial at Bury." He said, "Are you going?" I went, "I don't, is it worth it all that way for a trial? I've been rejected once, I don't think I'm going to get another opportunity." So he said, "No, you must go." So, to cut a long story short, rang my mum back, organised to go back up and had a trial at Bury. And then I remember going to the game and we played at Lower Gig, and John will remember Lower Gig. You get changed at the ground and walk down to Lower Gig. And it was a horrendous pitch, a horrendous training area. And they'd set 2 teams up of 11v11, and I started the game and I played between 4 and 6 minutes of the game and got brought off. I thought, what a waste of time coming all the way from Cornwall for that. So I didn't think anything of it. I stayed and watched the rest of the 3 periods of 30 minutes that they played and thought nothing of it. Walked back up to Gig Lane, got changed, and as I'm leaving, I think it was Steve Walsh who was working alongside Martin Dobson, just said, "Oh, just go and see the manager and he wants to say thank you for you coming up." So I knocked on his door and come in. I said, "Mr. Dobson," I said, "it's David Lee." He said, "Yeah, come in, son, sit down, I'd like to offer you an apprenticeship." I went, "I've only played 4 minutes." He said, "Soon enough, you've got a great attitude," and that's how it started.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So
incredible.
Yeah, being in the right place at the right time, and I think more than anything, showing the right attitude to want to have the commitment to coming up.
Yeah.
And I think throughout my career, it's always been about having the right attitude, and it stands you in good stead. So I'll never forget that day.
Yeah. Were you cleaning boots and stands?
Oh
and
yeah,
all that?
yeah. Looking after the stands after match days, cleaning the terracing, make sure the players' boots were done. But you know what? It was old school. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me because it instilled that discipline and that work ethic that I have to this day.
Yeah. So you've gone from Baywatch to to Bury.
Very much to Bury, yeah. Red shorts and a t-shirt on the
Bunch of
beach.
smugglers on the beach to Bury.
Yeah.
Nice one.
You mean St Ives, John? Nice part of the world down
Oh,
there,
it's
isn't it?
beautiful, yeah.
Different world down there,
Surfers
isn't it?
paradise down there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you been back down recently? Or?
I visited it 3 or 4 years ago. We went down for 2 or 3 days. It's not changed.
No.
Exactly the same. Beautiful place, yeah. So it's more fond memories in my heart from there, yeah. Loved it.
Can you remember making your professional debut?
I think I played in a game at Carlisle for Bury, and I was just training with the under-18s or the apprentices then, and Frank Casper said, come over, you're involved with the first team, and we played up at Carlisle, and I think we won 1-0, and I played against a big strong centre-half called Billy Wright, and I scored in the game.
Wow.
And
What's
it
that,
was like a Anglo-Italian Cup or Sherpa Van Trophy, something like that, like a pre-season game. And obviously the naivety of it, I just loved it, run around and played. And then started being drip-feeded into the training sessions, and then eventually full-time with the squad, But always got changed with the apprentices, even though you were involved with the first team. Yeah.
Fond memories of Bury, and you sad to see what happened to them a few seasons ago, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously, they're the team who gave me the opportunity, and Martin Dobson and Frank Casper and Ray Pointer gave me that opportunity. But it was a family-run club. It was great times, and it was so sad to see what happened to them through no fault of their own. Obviously, through ownership and things like that, and the financial side of it. But yeah, I've been back a few times now since, and obviously got the 5G there, so they're trying to create a new start and bring some funding in. Whether they ever get back, I don't know, but I know I've great memories from that football club.
Yeah, you met this man in Gig Lane, didn't you?
We
What
did,
was that
yes,
like?
yeah. John, I wouldn't say it was your best time there, John. You didn't really enjoy it, did you?
I think it mixed really did. I think it was kind of, obviously I signed in the summer, and and things were, the club was quite buoyant, I would say, and really looking ambitious.
Yeah, with Hugh Eves and people like that
Eves
involved
and Big
in
Sam
it.
Ellis as the manager, and then by the Christmas, really you couldn't get a pair of laces, could you?
No.
And I
All
think
fell
six
apart,
of us had to go
Yeah.
in January,
Yeah.
or else the club was going to go bust then.
Wow.
So obviously David goes to Southampton for quite a considerable amount of money. Andy Hill went to Manchester City.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I went to Millwall. The two boys, Mark Patterson and Tony Cunningham, came
Tony
to Bolton.
Cunningham, yeah.
And there was one more.
I'm trying to think who else
There was
was there.
definitely 6. There was one more.
I'm not sure whether Jamie left, Jamie Hoyland, Liam Robinson.
It might have been Liam. Liam got to Burnley.
Might have gone to Burnley,
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a 6
Yeah.
anyway. So that was
That was the
time.
nucleus of the squad, wasn't it?
Very
Just
much
ripped
so.
apart.
And it was a shame because I think we were sitting 4th in the league at that point.
Yeah, we looked like we were going to get promotion,
Yeah.
didn't we? The way we were going.
Yep.
So,
And that's it really. Ever since then, that's it.
Yeah.
They don't like
One
me
fa-
anymore.
one foul swoop, it all gone.
Yeah. Was it a good dressing room though at the time? The boys in there.
Yeah. It was the camaraderie was always there.
Yeah.
You got stick every day, but
Andy Feely.
Oh God, yeah. He was an animal, Andy. Yeah, he had them Chelsea boots, and we'd never seen anything like that, had we? And he came in some Chelsea boots. And, wasn't the best player to pick on, but no, we had some good characters and some tough lads in there. Kevin Hume, Ronnie Morgier, Roger Stanislaus, Peter Valentine, Alan Nill was there at the time. Yeah, some good characters. Yeah. And a good squad of players.
It was a good squad. It was a good experienced squad.
It was,
when you look through it. Colin Greeno in there, and it was good.
Yeah. Who knew you'd team up again shortly after? But the Southampton move then David. But how did that all come about? 'Cause it was quite a big money move for you at the time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Sam Ellis had gone to Man City, and it was Mick Walsh who was in charge. And I can't remember who we played. I'm not sure whether we played Cambridge on the Saturday. And just before I was leaving to go home after the game, Walsh said, "Oh, I expect a phone call in the morning." I didn't know what it was about at all. There was no rumours going around or anything like that. I'd not listened to anything. And I got home, and then the following morning, Walshy rang me and said, Southampton are interested in you. You need to get down to Southampton on that Sunday. So I literally just packed a bag and drove down to Southampton and met Ian Branfoot at the Hilton Hotel in Southampton. And it was a bit of a blur, really, and he said, would you like to sign for me, blah, blah, blah. I thought, well, yeah, I'll play at higher level.
Yeah.
He said, right, well, we'll sign on the Monday. And from playing on the Saturday for Bury, I'd signed for Southampton for 2 years on the Monday morning, just like that, within 48 hours.
Wow.
So I rang my mum, she said, are you coming for tea on Sunday? I went, Mum, I'm in Southampton. What are you doing down there? I said, well, apparently I'm signing for them on Monday morning. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. They had some right good players at the time, didn't they?
Yeah. At the time, I didn't realise anything. I didn't really know much about Southampton because I was in a bubble in Bury and I lived in the northwest of England, and the northwest of England was great for me. I didn't really look outside of the northwest, and then you look at the players in the squad there: Matt Le Tissier, Neil Ruddock, Alan Shearer, Tim Flowers, Glenn Cockrell, Mickey Adams, Russell Osman, Barry Horn. Some great names and some really experienced players. Obviously, Alan Shearer was only young at the time.
Yeah.
He was there within 12 months he'd gone to sign for Blackburn Rovers, but yeah.
Wanderers Way, the official podcast of Bolton Wanderers Football Club in association with iHeat.
On Sunday, the 13th of April, Bolton Wanderers in the community are holding a 10k run and also a family 2k run, which I'll be involved in myself personally, as I'm taking part with my granddaughters in the 2k because I can't run the 10. To register, you can go to entrypoint.co.uk or the events page on bwitc.org.uk, and you will be able to register and enter there.
Wanderers Way, the official podcast of Bolton Wanderers Football Club in association with iHeat.
When you signed, was there not talk of Matt Le Tissier leaving at that point?
Yeah, when I signed, Ian Branfoot said to me, I'm signing you because Le Tissier is going. And they were his words, Le Tissier is going. And I said, where's he going? He said, well, I'm trying to sell him to Chelsea or to Tottenham. And I thought, all right, obviously he's buying me to replace Matthew. And when we had a couple of training sessions and I was speaking to Le Tissier, he says, I'm going nowhere. I'm not going. He says, I love it
Homeboy,
here.
wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he was Southampton through and through. He didn't get on with Ian Branfoot, but he said, there's no way I'm going. So I think then Ian Branfoot put me in the team and I played 24 league games and cup games. And on the 25th game, Southampton then had to pay Bury another £200,000, which had made it just under £500,000 for me.
Yeah.
And I never played again after that. But when you put the two and two together, Matthew wasn't going anywhere. The football club wanted Matthew in the team. I was playing in his position.
Yeah.
I never played after that, and Matthew was never going to go anywhere. So Matthew was back in the team, and I was not even on the bench, because if they'd have played that, if I'd have made that 25th appearance, then they would have had to finance another £200,000 to Bury. So I was left in the wings and ended up back playing in the reserves. And when I played for Southampton, I thought I'd done all right. Created a few opportunities for them, made goals for people. But it was never going to be any longevity in it, because Matthew was going nowhere. And he had every right to stay because he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was
and he deserved to be in the team and play.
And fans' favourite as well.
Oh,
So very hard
They
to
loved
either,
him.
even to replace is hard.
Yeah.
But when he's there, obviously it's a different challenge.
Yeah. But no, I replaced him for 24 games, so that's my claim to fame. But yeah, he was a nice lad, great player, lovely place to play football. Southampton on the coast there.
Yeah.
Weather was great, people were nice, but it was never going to work out for me with any longevity. So it was great when Bruce came in for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it just shows you what, if Matt had left, then you might not even be here or playing for Bolton Wanderers.
No. I think everything happens for a reason, and I think your career and your life is mapped out.
Yeah, incredible. What was it, the Dell like, playing down there?
It was intimidating for the opposition. Yeah, it was a tight-knit place.
Yeah.
Not many people got results down there against us. They didn't really fancy it. But when you've got people like Matt Letizia and Alan Shearer in the team, and Neil Ruddock, Terry Hurlock,
he was
we
an
had
animal,
the
wasn't he?
aggressive side to it, but they could also play football as well. So it was a hard place to come down and play.
Yeah, Shearer, was he as good as this man here?
What a striker. I mean, listen, he had everything, didn't he, Dave?
Yeah,
he had
he did,
everything.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
some of the goals he scored.
Yeah,
It's just
he had
ridiculous.
that belief. Do you know what I mean? He had that self-belief. He always knew he was going to score goals. And gosh, what a career he had. What a career. Yeah.
From a young age, you can tell.
Yeah.
He had hunger. He had just something about him that was
Yeah.
that little
Yeah.
bit different,
Yeah,
didn't
he
he?
was, yeah.
You don't really see number 9s like that anymore, do you?
And that's... Do you know what? I think now it's kind of fallen out of favour, isn't it, with managers, coaches? You know,
Yeah.
the 9 itself. We play with false 9s. You know, we play with a second striker now.
Yeah.
Some don't
Yeah.
play with any strikers now. I think the team that starts going back to that and playing with proper 9s and it'll have success.
Yeah.
I really do,
Yeah.
because the defenders won't know how to mark them.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I always looked at Alan Shearer and thought, he reminded me a little bit like Mark Hughes. You could throw the
Yeah.
ball up
Yeah.
to him and you knew he was going to pin that centre half, and he could link the play like John used to do, you know, and Andy Walker, they used to, and Mixie Patalainen, strong players who could hold the ball up for you, and then you knew you bring your wingers into play, and that's how strikers should be. And like you say, John, if more clubs played with the number 9, I think you get a lot more success.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bolton came in for you on loan initially. Did you have to think about that one, David, or were there other clubs sniffing about?
I didn't have to think about it at all.
Yeah.
I played in it was a Tuesday night at Roadsea, which was the training ground with floodlights, and we played Millwall in a league, reserve league game, and I played in it, did okay, scored a wonder goal with my left foot, which doesn't happen very often, and I didn't know Bruce Rioch was at the game, and I've always been one, even if it's been a reserve game, I've always tried to work my socks off and have the right attitude, whether it be a first team game, under 23s games or whatever, and I worked hard in it, and after the game got changed, and we were training the following morning, and then after training the secretary said, the manager wants to see you. So I had to go into Ian Brownfoot's office, and he said, do you fancy going on loan to play some first team football? I just said, yeah. I didn't even ask him who it was. And then
Just wants to play.
I just wanted to play. Because
Yeah.
obviously once you'd had a taste of playing first team football, you don't want to go back to playing reserve team football. I'd had a spell of playing reserve team football, and I just thought, there's an opportunity. And then I said to him, who is it? He said, it's Bolton Wanderers. Bruce Rioch's been to watch you, saw you last night and wants to take you on loan. I said, I'll go. And no qualms, the following day I was ready to come up.
Yeah. Just like that.
Just like that, yeah.
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 Fantastic. And I mean, coming up, the rest is history, I guess, but it got made permanent, the move. Was it £275,000? And was it?
I think so, yeah. I remember speaking to the manager about it, because I'd played a few games and I really loved it, and I loved the club, and I loved what it was. I loved the principles of the manager and what he expected of people. So I really wanted to sign, and the lads were great. And I remember going into the manager's office and I was desperate to sign. And he said, listen, David, he said, if I can get £1 off for every supporter to make the money, I'd sign you, but we literally can't afford it. And I said it's a big ask to get people off money. And I said, I'll just continue, kind of sign an extension on the loan. And then he said to me, we'll see what we can do. And then, again, as we said earlier in the conversation, things happen for a reason. We draw Liverpool in the FA Cup, which then was able to fund it. And obviously having the replay as well, it enabled them to fund it for me, and that's why I ended up signing. And if it hadn't been that game, I don't think I'd have signed.
I now know how you played so well in that game.
I can't remember, John, whether I'd signed before that, because I know Southampton were very good and allowed me to play. Because usually you become cup tied and you're not allowed to play, aren't you?
Yeah.
But they allowed me to play, so obviously they didn't want me back at Southampton.
Yeah.
But having the 2 games against Liverpool obviously brought the finances in for them to pay the fee.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. What was Bruce like as a boss, as a manager?
I was frightened to death of him. But I think because he instilled that discipline into you and that respect and that work ethic and the fundamentals in life that I work on are you've got to have respect for people, but you've got to have the right attitude and you've got to work hard and don't let your family down, yourself down, or the people you're working for down. And the manager instilled that into players, and I love the discipline side of it, and I could see that in him. So, yeah, I was scared of him, but I had so much respect for him. You want it, and John's the same. You have that respect for somebody, and you want to work hard for them, and you don't want to let them down, because you know if you do let them down, he'll come down on you a ton of bricks and he'll punish you. Yeah. So yeah, it was the best thing that happened to me when I came to Bolton with Bruce being in charge.
Yeah. Did you get on the receiving end of the hairdryer treatment at any point from him?
Yeah, on a number of occasions. When you least expected it. Sometimes you come in and you think, oh, I've done all right. Yeah. And he'd blast you. And other times you think you're having an absolute nightmare. Even though you're working hard and it's not going right for you, you think he's going to come in and give you both barrels. So, yeah, we've seen it all sides. And, gosh, some of the stories in that dressing room, he could tell you about what he says and does to you. But, do you know, it kept us on our toes, John.
He was the master of mind games.
He was brilliant.
He really was. I mean, he was incredible.
Yeah.
Like we said, you know, sometimes he'd walk in and he'd walk straight past you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think, I've done something wrong. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And he'd have you guessing.
Yeah, of course he would.
And now you're thinking, I better train well today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
or something's on his mind and he's coming for you. Yeah.
And it's, but no, he kept you on your toes and kept you always guessing. Yeah. You were never guaranteed a shirt, were you?
The only inclination you got when you knew you were going to get both barrels is because he was a very smart man. Or he's a smart man. Always had a shirt and tie on. He'd always do that.
His neck would go a wee bit like that. So see, when it was like that, you knew he was ready to blow.
Yeah. So you put your head down in the dressing room and just think, go past me. Go past me.
Don't catch his eye.
Yeah, because he would go for you. But I tell you what, it was brilliant for us. It really was, because the success he brought. It was, yeah.
It was needed. Yeah. We did the dressing room where the boys, don't get me wrong, they worked hard, but they also they partied hard as well when they had the opportunity. Yeah. So you needed that discipline to keep it all together. And he certainly, he could handle that.
He could, yeah. And he was very clever sometimes. If we'd worked hard on a Monday and a Tuesday, and regardless of the result on a weekend, we ran our socks off Mondays and Tuesdays, didn't we? And he'd say to you, if you want to have the day off tomorrow, you can do. And then you'd be thinking,
what's it catch you?
Shall I take it or shall I not?
No. Just run us going. Get on with it.
What you hear players sometimes speaking about managers and running through a brick wall for him. Was he sort of that guy where you got a little bit extra out of you on the pitch?
Yeah, even though we only had small squads, like John said earlier, you weren't guaranteed of a shirt every week. So you knew you had to be at your best every training session and every game to give yourself that best opportunity being in this squad. Because I'm not speaking about players now, but really when they're left out the team, does it hurt him as much as it should? Because when we were players, it really... Yeah. It hurt you, and you were embarrassed not to be in that squad. So when you weren't in it, you had to work even harder then to try and get back in it. So yeah, and John will tell you, when you're left out of the team, it really hurts you. And when you're in a team and left out of it, in a team that's doing well, it's so difficult to get back in. Yeah. So he squeezed every ounce out of you and maximised your potential and your own work ethic as well. Kept you on your toes, and we needed that. It's brilliant for us.
But he was a great believer, wasn't he, in training the way you play?
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of times you would come in, Derek, in the mornings and say, right, everybody, shin pads on.
Yeah.
You know, and that would be a couple of days before a game. Yeah. Shin pads on, and it would be a proper 11v11, and there was no holding back. There was tackles, there was everything made. So.
And sometimes, John, he'd play in the games, wouldn't he? And he'd belt you.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'd kick you, I think. No question.
Yeah. He was a decent player in his day, wasn't he? Played for Scotland, didn't he?
I remember one of the first sessions.
Captain Scotland.
Yeah, one of the first sessions up at Halls, he'd done like an 8v8, and he joined in it. And I must have stood still for 1 second. Next minute, bang, straight into me, knocked me over. I never stood still again. Yeah. It was, you know what I mean? He was making his mark. Yeah, you've come from Southampton, but you're at Bolton Wanderers now. Yeah. Bang, woof. Right, I'll be on the move. Yeah.
And I tell you what, you put the long studs on and all, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You'd get them.
He was a good player.
Yeah.
Good player.
So, so you've come from Southampton, obviously facilities, stadium and everything
Yeah.
else, you've come up the road,
Yeah.
training facilities especially, and you've ended up at Hall's Sweet Factory as a training
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the weather was decent, and at Halls they used to get deliveries of glucose, didn't they, for the sweets and that. And I used to see the lads getting changed, and they'd be getting socks and shorts and then tracksuit bottoms and rolling the socks up and putting the sleeves like that and the hats, and I'm thinking it's quite a nice day really. I don't know why they're all getting dressed up like that. And then you get up to Halls in your training, and it attracted all the flies and the midges, and they were getting bitten to death. And I thought that's why they're wearing that. But yeah, it was a bit of a culture shock and at Southampton, when we were training, the staff would bring water butts out with Gatorade and orange juice and things like that, and you'd have cups and you'd be drinking. We didn't have anything like that. We didn't even get a drink, did we? In training, nothing at all.
Basic.
I mean, Derek, to put the picture into perspective here, right? For the whole football club, we had one pitch, right? And there was a little triangle of grass off to the top left-hand side of the pitch, right? Now, the Hall Sweet Factory, their Sunday team played on it, obviously on the Sunday league team, right? So they played on it on the Sunday before we would train it. There was puddles in the goalmouth, there was all that. There was actually grass on it. That was our training pitch, right?
Wow.
So in the morning, first team, top half, reserve team, bottom half. The youth team would be on that little triangle on the side, and then when we finished, they would come on to our half.
Yeah.
That was it.
And then, as a manager, we had to make sure all the balls were put back in the nets. The players had to do it, and then Bruce had nominated to put the footballs in the back of your car because they were filthy, weren't they? Because he had a beautiful Mercedes, it was prestige, and there was no dirt getting in the back of his car, so we were all nominated to throw the balls in the back of our cars.
The biggest battle every morning was who was driving.
Yeah.
Right? Because you went down there, I'm not kidding you, you'd go down there in the morning, right, and everything's fine. And it was like the wacky races, by the way, driving down there as well, right? But on the way back, everybody caked in mud. And your motors were wrecked.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. We had to take towels with us to put them on the seats of the car because you were filthy.
No way.
Yeah.
So now we've got the training complex, obviously half a mile here from the stadium, 13 pitches on it.
Different world, isn't it?
And I still hear people
They're not
happy with it at times. Do you know what I mean?
They don't know how lucky they are.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. What was London like as well?
Up till about the end of September, it was fantastic. And then after that, it was an absolute nightmare. It used to cut up.
Yeah.
It was bobbly. By Christmas, it was mud. Alan, the groundsman, used to roll it, didn't he? And it was compact mud. There was no grass on it. It was compact mud.
There was just tons and tons of sand on it.
Yeah.
The ball would never bounce.
No.
It was like a pancake when it just hit it, bum, dead.
Yeah. And sometimes if the training facilities weren't right, we'd train on the car park, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Outside Burndon, and the supporters would be watching. People would be buying tickets at the ticket office and that. And it had a slope on it like that, and you trained on it for a full 90 minutes. 5-a-side, 7-a-side, passing, drills, everything.
Man alive.
And you never moaned about it, because if you did, you got some stick from the manager.
Yeah.
You just got on with it.
I love that. I mean,
The car park was still better than running round Entwistle with the reservoir.
That was brilliant. I used to he hated running, hated it, like most of the players, but for some of us, we used to love going to different places and running. And once we went up to Entwistle Reservoir, and the manager had already set the teams out who'd run with who, and you're in groups of like 4 and 5. So you'd have 1 or 2 lads who couldn't run, and he'd put you with 3 or 4 lads who could run, to drag them through. And it was like a horseshoe round.
Okay.
And you'd set off. It was a couple of miles, John, something like that.
More than that,
A bit
it seemed
more.
like 20 miles.
Seemed like 20 to John, yeah. But, I remember the manager put Keith Brannigan with myself, Jason McAteer, who could run, and we were in the same group, and you had to go all the way around, and the manager would start you off, and Colin Todd would be the other side waiting for you. So you had to get round as quick as you possibly could, and then wait there. And then so you go and set off in your groups, every 5 or 6 of you go, and then they'd leave you a minute, and then so you get round to the other side, and Colin would tick you off, right, you're back. And then they'd say, right, as a group, get yourself back in your groups of 6. So I remember setting off again, and myself and Jason, 1-2 others, we could run. And we're coming back to the finish, and I could see the manager at the gate, the turnstile, waiting for us. And we were thinking, oh, that's impressive, let's get up there. So 2 or 3 of us got there, and there's 1 or 2 lagging behind. And we get to the gate, and he went, go and get your teammates, like that. And he made us run back, and we had to bring Keith Brannigan in, over our shoulders, dragging him in. Keith like that, I'm going to have a heart attack. But Bruce would not let us get over that line until we'd come in as a group. For the camaraderie. It's brilliant, brilliant.
Finish together.
Yeah, you had to finish as a group.
Yeah.
But it
By the
bonded
way,
us.
When we had ran round to that end, right, and I'd put a lot into it, by the way, right, and then they've told us, right, you're going back.
Coming back. But you took that well.
Oh, for God's sake, honestly. And at China Gardens as well, up
Yeah,
there.
up the steps, yeah.
Up Reddington Pike.
Yeah.
China Gardens, you know, the
I know we are,
the
yeah.
steps.
He'd send the youth team coach, Steve Carroll, with a canister of spray marker paint, and he'd mark little tracks that you had to go up. And one of them, it was right to the very top of the steps, and you'd start off with a white spray marker, and you'd have to get to the top, back up and down. And remember Tony Kelly, he was a plodder, wasn't he, Tony?
He could run all day.
He could
though.
run all day,
Yeah.
but he was a plodder. And I remembered finishing this set of 6, up and down, up and down. And I remember on the last set, Bruce is watching, and Kells is really struggling. And Bruce says, come on, Kells, get it done. He's saying, Gaffer, I'm going to have a heart attack. He said, well, if you're going to have a heart attack, have a heart attack at the top step. He said, why is that, Gaffer? He said, because it's closer to heaven. Kells was struggling to get up there. But he did it. Oh,
I mean, them pre-seasons were ridiculous,
Yeah.
they were, but we were fit.
Yeah.
Honest to God, we were
Yeah.
fit. The amount of games we won late on because
Yeah.
of the fitness,
Yeah.
he had us
yeah.
incredibly fit. I mean, them running up them steps, I'm not kidding you, you'd run down the back and get to the start again, right? You come down the hill, get round it, and you'd be your legs would be shaking uncontrollably,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Ready to go
Yeah.
again.
Ready, yeah.
And you had no control of your body.
No, you just had to do it, didn't you? But like you said, John, for the last 15, 20 minutes of games, that's where we came into our
Yeah.
own. If they were tight-knit and there was not a lot in it, we used to steamroll teams in like last 15, 20 minutes. But sometimes even on a Thursday and a Friday, when like your prep days for the game on a Saturday, we would train hard, wouldn't we? And on a Friday morning, we used to have like a 5-a-side, didn't we? It could go on for like 40 minutes sometimes till we got a winner because you wanted to carry on, and then you were playing on the Saturday.
So competitive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good times, yeah.
You mentioned the Liverpool game, a few famous cup scalps in Bolton Wanderers colours. Must be high up there in your sort of memory bank.
Yeah, we had a couple of years of really good cup runs.
Yeah.
Obviously, we beat Aston Villa, didn't we? We beat Everton.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody still talks about the Liverpool game where John rose like a salmon, Andy Walker rose like a salmon, and on the night everything just went perfect for as a team. We didn't change the way we planned. You know, our plan was exactly the same, the routine, and everything fell into place for us. And I think the big thing for us is when we played at Burnden Park on the Sunday game, which was live on the ITV at the time. We got a draw out of it, which we were winning the game, weren't we, John?
2-0 up.
2-0 up. And they got back to 2-2, and everybody thought then the writing was on the wall, you're going to go back to Anfield and get beat, because obviously Liverpool had thought they'd done the job. And I think Souness was a manager at the time, wasn't he? And there was something in the
Remember
newspaper.
the big fur coat on the side of the pitch.
Yeah. The manager brought something he'd pinned something up in the dressing room, hadn't he? A newspaper article.
As soon as it said after the game, you got interviewed on the side of the pitch. And
Yeah.
I remember you had the big moustache at the time.
Yeah.
The pimp fur coat on. didn't he?
Tom Selleck, wasn't he? Yeah.
And he stood there and he says, well, you know, it was a disgrace the game was on today. And he was probably right in
Yeah.
that sense. Because the game, if it hadn't been live on TV, it would have been probably...
because it was frozen.
Off.
The
It was
pitch was
frozen
frozen.
solid. It was a lottery, to be fair.
Yeah.
And he said it was a disgrace the game was on, but the potential banana skin, I think we've overcome that now, and we'll put things right at Anfield. You know, so basically, like, we've done the hard part today. We'll do the business at Anfield, and we'll make it right.
But the manager picked up on that, and it was obviously something he put something in the dressing room and pinned it up, didn't he, for it on the notice board.
Yeah.
So that gave us the incentive then. But we didn't change anything. We just went same preparation and everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had over 9,000 supporters there on the night, and it was written in the stars for us, wasn't it? It really was.
Well, listen, I've said this many, many times, and I'll keep saying it. It was the David Lee game. It was when you say the Liverpool game, it's a David Lee Liverpool game, right? Because an incredible performance, best live performance I've ever seen of a player, and you know that. I mean, I've said it many times. You know what I mean? And he's tore them single-handedly. He's tore them to shreds. Left wing, right wing. They kept switching over their full-backs, you know, to try and counteract what he was doing. None of them could get near him. They've tried to rip the shorts off him. They've tried to... I mean, seriously, they've assaulted him. They've done everything to him. And with a wee bit of care himself, he probably could have got a couple of goals in the night.
Done,
you know, the opportunities to single he made for himself.
Yeah.
But incredible performance. It is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
It really is.
It was a night to remember for everybody involved in the town and the football club itself, and I think it's testament to that. To this day, people are still talking about it. So it put us on the map, didn't it, John? Because it set us up for better things to come, didn't it?
Well, now that you've said that earlier, I can see where the performance has come from now, knowing that that might have been the money that afforded us to buy you from Southampton. But no, it was. I mean, like you said, 9,500 their fans, and the support, Derek, on the night was just fabulous. I mean, it was great. And the biggest thing, you agree with, we've spoken about this many times as well, where we're all celebrating down the side of the goal with all our fans, and we're doing all that, and then somebody taps you on the shoulder, you turn round. The whole cop has stayed. And as we turned round, and I don't know even why, nobody told us, we just started walking towards the halfway line as a team. Yeah. And they all just started applauding us.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The whole cop, and it looked like nobody had gone, and the respect.
And this is probably 10-15 minutes after the game had finished, the final whistle had gone, and they actually stopped and applauded us, didn't they?
And the respect there was it was magic.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was.
And I think the reason, Derek, was that we had gone and played football against them. You would expect a lower league team to go and try and either out-muscle them, to physically try and kick them off the park, whatever. But we just went toe-to-toe and played football.
Yeah. We did.
So I think we gained the respect that night.
We did, definitely. It's a night to remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had loads of other games as well. I mean, one game that I did score in was the Norwich game in the Coca-Cola Cup quarter-final. Again on Burnham Park. It took 6 or 7 different bobbles when I went through and scored. But I didn't score many goals, but I do remember that one. Yeah. And again, the Burnden Terrace was phenomenal that night, weren't they? And against Norwich, who were obviously a good footballing team. They expected to come to us, and and then
Arsenal.
we beat Arsenal.
Not going to Highbury, that was special.
Yeah, that was
it
brilliant.
wasn't long after that. They lost Highbury and they went to the new stadium. So.
And I remember we beat Spurs. Was it 5-1 or 6-1? 6-1 at Burnden. Yeah.
Coca-Cola Cup.
Coca-Cola Cup. Yeah.
Everton away.
Everton. Yeah.
2-0 down at half time.
Yeah.
Coyle get the win on extra time, 3-2.
Yeah. Guess was a feeling you weren't overawed against these teams. Just go out there and play your own.
I think they were probably surprised at the work ethic and the ability that the group of players had. I think they probably underestimated us because we were little Bolton Wanderers and probably not been on the map and not in the same level as most of the teams we were going to play against. But we surprised 1 or 2 because we had players in the team who could play, but we could also, if we had to mix it and be physical with them, we had that as well. But we had that work ethic and that never say die, and our 12th man with the supporters.
Yeah.
Great times.
I think one of our big things are obviously you on the right hand side, and it was either Tomo maybe on the left hand side. We had genuine pace and ability in the flanks, and it was such an outlet. If you were under pressure, we know we could play the ball back to front into the striker, set it back, and then it was that little diagonals in behind the full-backs, and we'd get on the end of them and get crosses in the box. But it was a great outlet for us.
Yeah, it was a basic pattern of play that we worked on, but it was brilliant for us. And like you say, when we drew teams out and created the space in behind, I knew As soon as, if the ball came out to me from Phil Brown in the wide area, I'd play it into the striker, either John or Andy, and I just then got on my bike because I knew then either Tony Kelly or Mark Patterson or Tom Orr would be there to put it in the channel, and I knew just run. And with the ability that we had, I knew the players would put the ball in that area, and because I was quite quick and against fullbacks, I was always going to get on the other side of them, and then people like John and Andy and the opposite wide player would be getting in the box for the ball coming in the box. And if John or Andy didn't score, then it'd come back out to one of the midfield players to follow up and back it up, and we created and scored lots of goals from it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't rocket science, but we all knew our individual jobs. Playing out on the right wing, I knew if the ball came out to me, I could play it with my left foot inside. I didn't even need to look.
Yeah.
I could call it a blind pass, but I knew John or Randy would be there to receive it, and then that's my job done, and I just get on my bike.
Yeah.
But it's
Can't buy that those relationships on the pitch
No.
when you're sort of telepathic almost.
I mean, again, going back to the relationship you had with Phil Brown was tremendous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what you've got to have.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's all over the pitch. 2 centre halves, 2 right siders, 2 left siders, 2 centre mids, 2 strikers, you know?
Yeah.
And the boss, he used to have us sharing rooms.
He did, yeah. He was very clever at that.
Very clever, you know. So
Yeah.
whatever relationship you had on the pitch, that was the one he wanted to foster. So that's who you share. You got to know each other off the pitch as much as on it.
Yeah, it was
Do you
good.
share a room?
John and me.
No strikers.
Oh,
So
just
I would have been. I was with Andy,
Andy,
or Owen.
Yeah.
just
He would
depending.
mix it up
Quite smart,
sometimes,
yeah.
wouldn't he? Yeah. Gone are the days where you could choose who you wanted to room
Yeah.
with. It was you're with him, and that's it.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
There's no real player power back then, was there? It was what the
no,
manager
you-
says
you
goes.
did what you were told, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays everybody gets a room of their own and things like that.
Aye,
you
yeah.
know, which that's the way the world is.
I remember being at Bury as a young lad, and that Sammy McIlroy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I roomed with Sammy. I remember it's probably like 9:30, 9:45. I'm just led on the bed watching the telly. He said, "Oh, just nip down and get me a couple of pints." Yeah, I always have a couple of pints before I go to bed. I just go down to the bar and say, "Can I have 2 pints of lager, please?" on a tray, and I take them back to the room. Sammy say, "Thanks, Didsy." On a Friday night. But the manager, I think Sam Ellis was the manager at the time. He was fine. That was Sammy's ritual, and Sammy was an international player, and he'd done it all his career. But I remember walking over 2 pints. There you go, Sammy.
I wonder how many people that didn't know you didn't drink thought
Exactly,
one was
one
yours.
for me. Yeah.
Or maybe the 2 was for
Maybe
you.
2 for me. Yeah.
Did you have any rituals before a game? Anything you always?
No.
You're
But
superstitious, aren't you, John?
I used to, when we warmed up, you warmed up on your own. So I used to have I had a running routine that I did before every game.
Yeah.
And I used to run from the halfway line to the 18-yard box and back, and then from the halfway line to the dead ball line and back,
Yeah.
and 6 yard. And like it was a good 40, 50 second blast, but I used to do that every game. Yeah, and just to get your second win, really. It was hard.
Yeah.
You do it in training, but that got me going then, yeah. But apart from that, no real routine.
When you
apart
think
from
about it, there was no group warm-ups,
Yeah.
team warm-ups done. It was just individually.
Yeah.
I should just go and stand and smash goal.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You should just shoot all the time, and that was it.
But we never really...
You didn't even warmed up or stretched, just
Never
walked
really
on and start
stretched,
lashing the ball.
Some players would go out at 23 for 5 minutes and come back in.
Yeah.
I wasn't
That was it.
really one for going out much.
No, you weren't. No.
No.
It's,
Changed days.
everybody's...
Nuts, isn't it?
I think the individuality's gone out of it. It's
Yeah.
become more robotic and as a
Very
group
much so.
format. And I just believe that every player has their own way they want to do things, and if it works for that player, let them do it. And if it gets the best out of that player, let them do it. But they've become very, very regimented, haven't they? They're very robotic, as I say, and you've got to do it as whether it works. I don't know, but you become a minion, don't you? And you do what everybody else does and get told what to do.
Yeah. The promotion winning season then, a famous season going up via the playoffs, and then of course you reached the League Cup final as well, which you played in Liverpool again, the opponent.
Yeah.
What's your memories of that game?
Yeah. I thought we were very unlucky against Liverpool. I think another 5 or 6 minutes would have probably got back into the game.
Yeah.
Again, we weren't overawed about it. I think on that occasion, though, Steve McManaman was out of this world.
He was sensational,
and
wasn't
he was probably the difference between the two teams.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, on that day, Scott Green got torn apart, didn't he? And I think Gudney Bergson came on for his debut in the second half, which gave us a bit of stability. I remember being involved in the first in our goal. I think I crossed it. I'm not sure. Was it Jason knocked it back to Tomo and Tomo scored? But we had a number of opportunities and we were in the game, weren't we, John? And I think, like say, 5 or 6 minutes more would have probably got something out of it. But what an occasion!
I can imagine. Walking out at Wembley is something you don't forget in a hurry.
No.
Well, it's remembered as the Steve McManaman final, isn't it? Because obviously man of the match scored two goals. But the fine lines, it just shows you it could easily have been the Alan Thompson final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he scored a fantastic goal, volley into the top corner. Yeah. He also had a great strike from about 25 yards. David James tipped it onto the crossbar.
He did, yeah.
You know, that could easily have went in. And I think he had another couple of opportunities, but like you said, you know, the first half certainly belonged to Liverpool. The second half, we come onto a game and we were more like our old selves in the second half, and a little bit longer. You could see Liverpool were hanging on.
They were, But no, to go back to your question, the build up to it, we didn't really do anything, did we? Maybe went a couple of days before down to Wembley. Was it the Wednesday we went down?
We got suits though.
Yeah, we did
for the final.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Mine with that minging tie, it was like a right rubbish tie. It was like a grey suit, wasn't it?
It was a grey suit.
A light coloured grey suit.
Yeah, and I remember Liverpool, John. They had the white. Did they have
Spice
white?
Boys, they kick over back in the day.
Cream suits,
Cream suits.
Yeah, because I remember going. You know, when you go before you walk out of the dressing room and you go and have a look at the pitch and whatever. We were there at like 1:30ish, and I remember going out. And obviously, I played at Southampton with Neil Ruddock, and Neil Ruddock was there at the time, wasn't he? Anyway, I remember getting on the pitch and he went, "This is Wembley, didn't he? This is Wembley," like really revving it up. And I looked at him and I thought, "You don't suit that white suit, Ruddock." I didn't tell him though.
And they all had sunglasses on and that.
Yeah, they did, yeah. Like you said, the Spice Boys.
$1 million to be fair, but
yeah. No, it was obviously we're disappointed we didn't win, but to say you played in a major cup final for Bolton Wanderers, it's a proud memory.
30 years this year.
Is it 30?
Wow, flies.
So the game obviously on Sunday.
Yeah.
But you played in that 30 years ago.
Gosh.
Wanderers Way, the official podcast of Bolton Wanderers Football Club in association with iHeat.
We need every fan to bring £1 to the ground on Saturday, the 5th of April, in our match versus Bristol Rovers, to help and support the fantastic work Bolton Wanderers and the community do across our town. Your small donation will make a big difference in the work we do in our charity. Not one for carrying cash. Text GROUND 70085 to donate £1. The text will cost the donation amount plus one network standard charge. So don't forget, bring £1 to the ground on Saturday the 5th of April versus Bristol Rovers. Amen.
Wanderers Way, the official podcast of Bolton Wanderers Football Club in association with iHeat.
And then obviously the playoffs that you mentioned, I was injured in the playoffs.
You must have been gutted at that.
Yeah. We played Wolves here, didn't we? And I remember at the time, because I never defended, I wasn't told to defend, but I remember being on the edge of the 18-yard box and they'd taken a corner, and I literally just swiveled to kick the ball to just to give it some distance so we could get out from the back. And as I kicked the ball, Mark Venus put his foot up and I hit the bottom of his studs, and I'd really wellied it as hard as I could. And I felt the impact straight away. I remember just literally going down, and the pain was excruciating, but I was a tough cookie, you know. I didn't like lying down and pretending I was ill, and I knew I was injured, and I tried to get up and I tried to run, and putting the weight on through my leg onto my foot, it was the worst pain I've ever experienced. And I only lasted another 20 or 30 seconds. I just could not run on it. And I remember coming off, and Ewan Simpson, it was Banksy,
Tony Banks.
Tony Banks, yeah. He said, get him up to the Beaumont. even whilst the game was on. So an ambulance came and blah, blah, blah. So I had to get in there. And I wanted to watch the game.
Yeah.
And when I got in the ambulance, I said, "Can you turn the radio on for me?" And I remember, just as I got into the Beaumont Hospital, Super John had scored.
Oh, brilliant!
And then I was elated. I was elated, thinking, "Yes, we're getting to the final." And then Banksy come in and took the X-ray. Within an hour, he come back. He said, 3 metatarsals. I went, "Oh, will I be fitting 3?" No chance. So I went from being up there to...
Yeah.
And then, obviously, you're disappointed, but then that was football for you. And to be fair to the manager, when you're injured with Bruce, he didn't really want to know you, did he?
No.
But because I had an input during the season, he kept me. He said, "If you want to come, you went away for a few days, didn't you?"
In Portugal.
Portugal. He said, "If you want to come to Portugal with us, come with us and be part of it." And I said, to be honest, I'd rather stay and get myself fit, thinking I might have half a chance, but I was still in a pot.
Yeah.
But I stayed. But then when the preparation was there to go down to the final, I went down with the lads and whatever, and it was a great occasion. And I remember running on the pitch at the end of it when we'd won, like, on my crutches and that to celebrate, because you were part of the squad, and even though you missed the one game, you were still part of that group of players who got that success. So yeah, it was disappointing, but at the end of the day, it was about getting over the line, and the lads did fantastic, didn't they?
Yeah, it was some game, wasn't it, John?
There's a great bit of footage you see right at the end. He comes flying onto the pitch in his crutches, right? Still quicker than most players on the pitch, I might add, on his crutches.
Yeah.
But he just shows the passion. Oh, he's disappointed you're not played, but no, you fly onto the pitch just to congratulate the boys and get about the boys. It was great.
Brilliant. And you know, John, to this day, can you remember we went back to the hotel, didn't we? And we came back on 2 coaches, didn't we? And they all gave us a bottle of champagne, didn't they? Pink champagne. I've still got that bottle of champagne unopened at home.
That's
I
nuts.
can't say the same.
I know, there was quite a few drunk on the way home, but
I think mine was done before I got off the bus.
Yeah. So I've still got the bottle of champagne
That's class.
as a memory of that, and it'll never be up. People couldn't drink it now; it'd be off.
Remember
But
it, I know. Was it Lon Perrier or something like it was?
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it's a great memory. It really is. Yeah.
By the way, right, so we were in there afterwards, right, and the families and that all came back.
They did,
and stuff.
Yeah.
Burnham Beaches.
Burnham
Hotel,
Beaches, that was
where
it,
the England
yeah.
team used to stay, and we must have taken every drink they had in that place. By the way, they were loading stuff onto the bus. You've never seen it like it.
They were
right?
going away for a week, so yeah.
It got to the point where they didn't have any beer or anything left to put on, and that. Well, what else you got? Right, they started loading on boxes of champagne on the end. Honestly,
They did, yeah.
I would hate to even think what the bar bill was for that, because it was ridiculous. It really was. But I don't even think it kept us going till we got home.
No. Did you go out when we got home, John?
I was about 4 days or something.
So
I nearly missed the bus tour, if I'm honest.
Gosh, yeah. We had an open top bus, didn't we? Yeah.
Open top bus thing round, but I mean, even that, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
It seemed like the whole town was out. You know, every street we went down, every corner we turned round, there was just more and more people.
Yeah.
When you thought you couldn't fit anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
There was just it was a great
It was
day.
brilliant, it really was.
Showed great character as well to come back in that fashion, isn't it, in the final?
Well, Keith Brannigan, wasn't it, John? We were 2-0 down, weren't we? And then Keith saved the penalty.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, he just turned around for us.
Yeah.
And that
Fabian.
was it. That was it. I mean, he changed the history of his football club, and again, I've said it many times. I don't think Keith Brannigan gets the credit really for it, because
he was
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great goalkeeper, phenomenal guy as well.
Yeah.
You know, not just a
Very
good
humble and
goalkeeper.
very quiet. Yeah.
But
We'd have gone 3 down, wouldn't we?
that would have been it.
Yeah,
put a tin lid on it. Really.
The character was great, but I don't know any team would have probably come back from 3-0.
But again, that's a Bruce Rioch team.
Yeah.
You know, never beaten. Always in the game.
But he leaves shortly after. That must have come as a bit of a shock. You go up into the top flight.
Yeah, I think 1 or 2. I think John had an inclination he was going. I had no idea, but I think you remember us discussing it, John, saying that you knew Bruce was going, and then he called us all in, didn't he? He'd been up to the Reebok headquarters to do
They
a
tried
deal.
all sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, they had tried all sorts to keep the boss and everything else, but it's hard, I suppose, to turn down Arsenal. You know, one of the biggest clubs in the country, and huge tradition and history. And you know, the chairman the day before.
Gordon Hargreaves.
The day before the final, down at the hotel, he pulled me in and he says, "Can we go for a chat?" So we went for a little walk, and he says, "Look, tell all the boys they'll be looked after." So he never said he was going, never said he was staying. He just says, "Look, tell all the boys not to be worrying." Because I think some of the players are, well, what happens if the manager goes? Will I still be here? And you don't want really that disruption before a big game like that. So I think the chairman was trying to sort of settle everybody's minds and calm down and just says, "Look, everybody will be looked after if we get promotion." So that was the story.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't blame the manager for going, because he was going to Arsenal Football Club,
Yeah, it's
the
hard to
biggest
turn
team.
down it.
Yeah.
And do you not think, though, David, where, you know, in the way he conducted himself and the discipline, everything else, it kind of suited Arsenal.
Yeah.
You know, when you go down and you see,
Yeah.
when you walk in,
The
you see them all in the
professionalism,
uniforms and you see the
Yeah.
marble, you know, everything just seemed right for him, if that makes sense.
Even the bottles of water had Arsenal FC on them, didn't they? You thought, wow, it's a different level, this, yeah. But yeah, he deserved to do better than he actually, or given the time, he needed more time. But I think he could have changed it. But he was competing against some big hitters down there with the likes of Tony Adams and Ian Wright and people like that. And, I mean, it's not right, but I know people write things about people in books, and I think Ian Wright criticised the manager in it, didn't he? Which is between themselves. Personally, I wouldn't have done anything like that, but he was always fighting against the bigger stars at the football club, and they got the way in their end, didn't they? And,
Well, I think when 7 or 8 England internationals go into a boardroom and speak to the board and say, basically it's either us or him, then there's only one winner. And it's sad, because I mean, he was you know, when you look back, he signed Bergkamp, he signed Platt, you know,
he knew what he was doing.
He certainly did. Just needed, like you said, needed time.
He
time
did,
to probably to adjust to the bigger club.
Yeah. But the manager was one of those people who liked to rule from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And at the football club here, he did that, and he established it, and he put it on a great footing. At Arsenal, he wasn't able to do that, was he? Because there was different departments who looked after different things, and maybe they thought that he was treading on people's toes, and it wasn't to be at Arsenal.
Yeah.
But in saying that, though, David, regardless of whether you were deemed the best player, the youngest player, the woman who made the tea, the woman who cleaned the training gear, you were treated the same.
You were,
That's class.
Yeah.
That's
by
good.
the manager, and he would speak to you exactly the same.
Yeah.
So there was no, "Oh, you're that, so you elevated or whatever
No.
on a pedestal." No,
Everybody
everybody at
was
the
on the
football
same
club was
way.
treated the same way.
Yeah.
That's good. You leave, but then it's a strange sort of dynamic where joint managers come in. Colin Todd, of course, Roy McFarlane. How did that work?
That never worked from start to finish.
Yeah.
The only good thing about Roy McFarlane coming in, he had a great contact for golf clubs, and we all got some great golf clubs out of it. I don't know whether he showed his naivety or what, but he had a contact with somebody, and he said, "Oh, if you want any golf clubs, I can get you them." And I'll have that 3-iron, I'll have that. And the lads really took him to the cleaners and ordered all this stuff, and then. But no, on a serious note, I don't think you can ever have a football club where you've got two people who have the same title, because if it wasn't right for you with one manager, then you would obviously go and speak to the other one, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And even though Colin and Roy were good mates, there was a divide between them that could never be brought together, and it had to be a decision had to be made for just one of them to be in charge. And I think with Colin being here the longest and Roy not, it was time for Roy to go.
Yeah. You really see it, don't you, John, that joint managers? Very.
Honestly, it was really tough, Derek. I was club captain at the time, and we would be getting changed in the morning, and Colin would be on one pitch putting cones out, Roy would be on another pitch putting cones out, and the boys would be saying to me like, what pitch are we going?
Who are you training with today?
And you're looking at it and thinking, right, I tell you what, we'll walk up the middle, right, the middle of the two of them, because you didn't know, and it was really hard. You didn't want to undermine one and go with the other, or you did, and vice versa. And it was
Doesn't work.
it was just so tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And both top guys. Roy was a lovely man. He really was. Great guy, magnificent guy he was. But for me, it was just set up to fail. Really.
It was, yeah. Whose idea was it? I don't know whose idea it was to do that.
Must have been the board.
Must have been the board.
The board's made a decision on it.
Yeah.
But
as a players, when you get told, I guess the feeling was, what, really? What's going on here?
Well, yeah, because like David said, somebody has to make the decision.
Yeah.
And the thing was, I mean, players, listen, if you give players an edge, they'll take a mile.
Yeah, of course they do, yeah.
And if you're not going to get what you want to hear off one, you're going to go to the other one.
Yeah.
And, and if the other one says yes to you, all of a sudden, well, how does that look? I mean, it's just rubbish.
You're okay if one manager says you're in the team and the other manager says you're in the team as well, you're all right. But they never came to that agreement.
But it was just a tough time.
It was,
really.
That was a bit of a transitional time for the football club then, wasn't it?
Yeah. What was the step up like playing in the top flight that season? Was it coming up against some top quality?
I think the
players,
fitness side of it we could deal with because we were fit, but it's just that, probably that intelligence and the pace of the game is a little bit quicker, and then if you made a mistake you got punished for it. At the lower levels you can probably get away with it a couple of times. At that level you make one mistake and you are punished. So yeah, it is a huge difference, the level now.
Do
Premier League.
you not think we gave too much respect as well to
Yes,
teams?
I think we did, yeah.
I mean, we were set up in a 4-5-1 formation for the season, really trying to not to give anything away rather than to play our natural game.
Yeah, I think if we'd have played like a 4-4-2 and probably played with wide players and got at people and maybe shocked them and then maybe hung on at the end of games and things like that. But I think you were taught to do that. I think if you'd have spoke to players individually, they'd probably wanted to play the way we played in the Championship and that, but you become stereotypical, don't you? 4-5-1, be regimented, don't give anything away and try and sneak a goal. But we weren't the players to actually want to do that. We had flair and pace in the team. We could have probably upset teams a little bit.
Overall, did you feel a little bit disappointed in the season? Because I felt we didn't really give it a go.
We didn't give it a go, yeah. I think after the adulation and the what we'd reached previous, we wanted to keep that momentum going. But like you said, once we started playing at that level and being not boring but negative and not being able to express ourselves in the way we wanted to, and it was a bit of a damp squib, really, wasn't it? And a disappointment where you feel like you've let the club down, but you've been frustrated because you've not been able to play in a way that you wanted to, or you naturally wanted to play, or how we played before, which had brought us success. And it's a learning curve, and we didn't learn quick enough, did we?
No. We didn't have that consistency. That was our thing. I think in any given game we could put in a performance, we'd pull out a result, but it wasn't consistent enough.
No. And like I say, at that level, you need that level of consistency, don't you? Week in, week out. And whether you lose one or two, you've got to win 2 or 3 on the belt. It was tough, but we've been there, we've experienced it, and we live to tell the tale, don't we?
Yeah, you played there. Was it tough leaving when the time came? You must have been sad at that.
Yeah, I can honestly say, and no disrespect to the other clubs that I played for, when I left Bolton Wanderers, that was the end of my career. Because I'd put so much into being here and enjoying it and having the success and working hard. As soon as I walked out that door, or I didn't want to leave, I was forced out. I wasn't in Colin Todd's plans, which is football. And I remember him saying to me, "I'm not offering you a new contract." And as I walked out of the door of the office, Gordon Hargreaves was there, and he was in tears. He said, "I'm sorry, Dave." He said, "I want to keep you, but I've got to do what the manager tells me to do." And I gave him a hug. I said, "I understand that, Gordon." And I remember him being in tears and he said to me, "We're breaking up what we had at this football club." And I totally got it, but he had to respect the manager. So when I left, I was distraught, but I knew then I couldn't. When I went to sign for Wigan, I didn't have that much, and it's very unprofessional of me, but I didn't have that motivation and desire to do what I did at Bolton Wanderers at Wigan Athletic. It was like I was on that slippery slope, and I started falling out of love with being in football, even though my attitude's always been spot on and I'd always give everything, but I just felt then that I'd reached that peak and I was on the way down, and I couldn't motivate myself to be a Wigan Athletic player in the same levels I was at Bolton Wanderers. And that's no disrespect to Wigan, because they had some good players and it was a good setup, but I just felt then I'd had my cream at the top there with Bolton Wanderers, and nothing, whichever football club I would have gone to, it would never have been Bolton Wanderers. And I think only John will understand it, because John went through when he went to Bradford and places like that. It's soul destroying, but you don't have that fire in your belly. And I knew then, when the day I left Bolton Wanderers, that it was just a matter of time before I went out the game. And I'd always had plan B. I was always wanted to go into the coaching side of it. So I knew then my next remit would be to get your coaching badges done and come back in some capacity at a football club. So yeah, it was, to answer your question, it was very, very hard and upsetting to leave. It was like leaving a family, really, because everything was set up and you had some fantastic times, but I could never, ever recreate that at another football club.
Yeah, I can imagine it being tough being there so long. Like you say, they give it as a family club, isn't it? So
and the affiliation that we both have with the football club. No disrespect to any other clubs we've played, but this is our club, and this is where we earned a living, but created a legacy. And memories. And the club all welcome us back with open arms, and it's fantastic to be part of it. So. Everything else is just a bit of a blur and a bump in the road, but when you come back to Bolton Wanderers, it puts a smile on your face.
When the call comes to come and be a coach here, was that a no-brainer for you? How did that come about?
Yeah, I just briefly. So when I signed for Wigan Athletic, I started doing my coaching badges. And I was, me and a lad called Colin Greenall, we did our B licences and our A licences together. And I always wanted to be at the football club, but there was no position for me. So when I was a player at Wigan, I did my badges. And then when my career finished at Wigan Athletic, Paul Jewell asked me to be the youth team coach. And I spent 5 years there working alongside some other coaches and managers. And I really enjoyed it. But once the opportunity came from Chris Sully to come here, I thought, I'll put my CV in. I came for a trial and put a session on at the training ground and got an opportunity, and the best thing I ever did. And we had a little bit of success with the teams that I worked with, and I loved every minute of it.
Where did you do your coaching badge? Was it up at the Largs? Did you do them up in Scotland, or did you do them down here?
We did them at Lillishall.
Yeah.
We did our what we called the B licence at the training ground at Manchester United, the Cliff, and then we went to Lillishall for 2 weeks. Colin Greenall and myself, and finished our A licences there. But then your coaching badges are great, but they're not the be all and end all. You need to get on that training ground and you need to be amongst the players and sample it and be. And I think because I was an ex-player, you see both sides of it, the coaching side and the playing side of it. So you have a better understanding than people who come into football clubs who've never played the game. And that's no disrespect to them, but you have a feeling and you know how players feel, how they work, how they tick, and it's the badges are great, but you need to be on the training ground or within a football club to really show your worth.
And you were successful, like you said, in the academy. You won a few trophies.
We did. I personally, I thought I did really well with the 23s, and it wasn't just the football and the coaching. It was I have a way of talking to players and gaining the respect of the players and getting the best out of them. And believe me, I could tell them off if I had to tell them off. People think I'm a nice lad, but I have that streak in me where if someone needs telling, I'll tell them. But I gained the respect, and not just me, but the staff as well. We created a lot of footballers at this football club. And And especially, you talk about the under-23s. Yeah, we won the National Premier League Cup, and we won the Premier League one with the under-23s. So even though we won those titles, some good players come out of those groups of players. And I think I had these skills of being able to develop players and talk to them and nurture them along and get the respect from them and get the best out of them.
Well, I think you had the respect, David, simply because of the way you conduct yourself as well. You know, you're a good role model, you know that. And it's the players look up to you. And it's not very often, Derek, I've seen this at first hand, by the way, but you know, when he's coaching like 17 and 18-year-olds and also pre-season, he's running them into the ground. It's a little bit of a shocker to these boys, you know, when he's actually still running and they're on their knees.
Showing them up.
Yeah. But I think players give you that respect. If you can do what you're asking them to do, and you can run and you can still do a little bit, it gives them a little bit, it inspires them a little bit to think, gosh, he can do it. And that's just the way I am. I'm a practical learner with them, and if I ask somebody to do something, I've got to be able to do it myself first. And I probably showed that with the players, and I think that's why we got the success from them.
You're maybe a wee bit surprised. Let himself go a wee bit. I mean, he's not in the best. He's not in the best nick there that I've ever seen.
Dear me.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
Look at him. Freak
No,
of
I can
nature.
see him. Yeah, he could still play right now, probably.
Of course he could.
Yeah. But that's just I like keeping myself fit. It's a way of life. And if like John says, I've been a role model for players, and they try and emulate what you've done or been like, then good, gives them success.
As you probably saw, it's funny, right? Because when we have any of the former players meetings and all that, and there's pictures and all that, nobody will stand next to him. Everybody's like, he's waiting on his own. Everybody's like bunched up over here, like
in the belly.
Because he makes everybody look so bad.
But look at John. Look how fit as a fiddle.
yourself.
He's done brilliant.
No,
he
it's
really
a long
has.
way to go. Not like
The David Lee fitness programme.
I've got to say this, right? And I've been on a bit of a kick for a year
You've done
now,
brilliant.
right? Since my birthday last year, and he's helped me so much. I've got to say, and he's pushed me and helped me, and he's been a good inspiration for me.
Top draw. Excellent.
That's what mates are for.
Yes, fantastic. Run up and down those steps, are you?
No.
not on a Tuesday. He's done enough of that in his career.
Must have been a wrench to leave at the point when you departed the club. That must have been hard for you at the time. Yeah,
I think throughout my career that's probably been the toughest decision, because I made the decision at the end of the day to leave the football club. But I mean, it's common knowledge. I did have an interview for the job, for the first team job, and my preparation I thought was spot on. And at the time when I came for the job, the club was really on its backside financially. And I had an infrastructure ready and a plan for the football club to not to take any money from the club or anything like that, but to get it back on its feet. And I had a plan where I thought I could get the football club back into a good position with the right people within the football club already, with only one more acquisition to bring in. And I set my presentation up. I had a good presentation, and I was in just over 2 hours, and I honestly thought I'd got the job, and I thought I was in a position with the experience and the people around me to take the club forward, but it wasn't to be. They gave it to somebody else, which was their decision. And I think then, and I said to John, I think once that decision had been made, it would be then very hard for me to stay at the football club with a new manager coming in, knowing that I wanted to be the manager of the football club. Look, and out of respect, and it was a hard decision, I had to walk away to give that manager and the people bringing in to the football club to have the best shot at it, knowing that David Lee wasn't looking over the shoulder. And I'm not bigging myself up, but they'd probably been thinking that if things hadn't gone right and the club was in turmoil, it'd been an easy option to then bring me back in. So I made that decision to walk away from the football club, which was hard. But in hindsight now, it's a decision that I made, and I thank myself for doing it. But yeah, that's how it happened. It was as simple and as basic as that. And I couldn't see myself then working back with the U team or the 23s or whatever after what I'd been through. Yeah,
quite an honourable thing to do. And I guess we talked about leaving as a player. Do you not have this sort of drive to go somewhere else, perhaps, or do you just decide enough's enough?
No, enough was enough, and I think what happened to the football club in the last couple of years I was here, the period I was
Must
here,
have been tough, yeah.
it was very, very tough. And you see sides of it, that the ugly sides of it, and there was no real razzmatazz and great times in the last couple of years. It was hard work. You're fighting against people. You're fighting against the club going into liquidation. It was a tough time, and I just thought it was a perfect time for me to take over and do what I wanted to do with the football club. But I wasn't given that opportunity, so I walked away, and I fell out of love with football, and I still enjoy football, but I'm not in love with it anymore. And I have a different way of life now, which I absolutely love it. And it gives me a different aspect and a different view on it. But I know I can come back to the football club and still enjoy myself.
I was a bit disappointed you didn't get the opportunity, because you had thought you deserved that chance. Knowing how much it means to you, and I know you would have done a good job, no question about that. And like you said, sometimes you got to sit back. The club have made their decision, and you respected that decision. But that's the mark of the man you are, and you've made a different life for yourself now. And you know this. I've kept badgering you. Every time a job comes up, I'll say to you, like, so and so's a job there. There's a job there, because I think you're wasted not being in football.
I know. You've always said that to me, John, and I respect what you say to me, but I've come that far now away from what I was doing in football to doing what I'm doing now. And you've always been in football, John, really, haven't you? And it's only when you come out of it, there is another side to life. And I absolutely love and adore what I'm doing now. And if I want to step back in to football and come and do some media work or whatever, or be involved in the football club in some capacity, going around speaking to people, I'd love to do that. But I know then it's not a full commitment, and I can step out of it and continue what I'm doing. So my level of life now is fantastic. I absolutely love it, and until it changes, I will continue to do it, because I'm in a good position in my life now, and I enjoy every minute of it.
So what are you actually doing at this moment in time?
Well, believe it or not, when I left the football club, I set my own little business up, and it's called Didsy's Domestic Deals, which is white goods. And it started off with just one appliance, and I didn't think it was ever going to materialise. But when I put myself into something, I throw myself into it 100%. And that's what I did. And I'm nearly 5 years down the line now doing appliances, and I source, supply, fit, deliver. I do everything under my own business, and it's gone through the roof for me, and I absolutely love it, and it gives me time to do what I want to do. If I want to go and play golf with my mate, I'll go and play golf. If I want to work, I'll work, and I have a really good, happy balance in my life, and I love it.
So if anybody's looking for any white goods,
I was going to say, my dishwasher's on the blink.
Well, I'll sort that out
there
for
you
you.
are. And by the way,
all John's sons, I've all sorted them out and whatever.
Brilliant.
Service second to none. Honest to God, I mean, you've never known anything like it. Right, you can put the phone down, and within an hour he's there he's walking up your driveway, right, with a wash machine over his shoulders. I'm not kidding you. Unbelievable. And he fits them. He delivers them. He fits them. He does a lot. White glove service, magnificent.
Take the old ones away for them as well.
Yeah.
So washing machines, dishwashers, integrated stuff, everything. Anything you want in your kitchen. And do you know what? I love it. It's my own business. I manage it myself.
That's the main thing, isn't it? You need to enjoy what you're doing, I guess.
I love it. I really do. I really love it.
I've actually stopped mentioning jobs to him now, Derek, if I'm honest with you, because I know how happy he is. And that's a fact.
I love that. That's class. And back on the field, I mean, Bolton this season, how do you see them getting on? How do you see the season?
Well, I think since the new manager's come in and give them all a lift, it's been fantastic. And they had obviously the blip at the weekend, but I'm just hoping now, when you have a blip and you have your international break, it's frustrating from a manager's perspective and supporters, because you want to get back involved. But hopefully this period of time now, we'll be able to get them on the training ground, get them into some type of routine, and hopefully hit the ground running for the running. And I think they'll get in the playoffs. I want them to be in the playoffs, and they've certainly got the players to get in the playoffs. And it's a lottery when you get there, but just stay in the pack. Because this football club needs championship football. It deserves it. The people who work in the club, the supporters, the talent, everything about it, it deserves at least championship football. And behind the scenes, you see how hard people are working to achieve that, and just fingers crossed, and with a bit of lady luck, hopefully they'll do it this season.
Yeah, let's hope you're right. Well, David Lee, it's been brilliant having you on. Thank you very much. You've been a magnificent guest. So from me and John, thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for
Brilliant,
the invite.
Paul.
When John mentioned it to me, I was really looking forward to it. And anything I can do for the football club, I always enjoy doing it. And I'll do anything for you.
First class.
Brilliant.